Let's get perspective. Former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, that's the operative office in the Adams kind of probe, David Kelley. And New York City political strategist, Hank Sheinkopf. It's good to have you both. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's deal with politics and then to law, because we know more politically than we do legally. Hank, Adams is handling this the only way he can publicly, but was his big mistake not cutting everybody loose as soon as there was smoke 8-10 months ago?
Well, he did that effectively with the police commissioner that passed, Caban, but he should have asked people as soon as the questions arose to get out, do it nicely, kindly, in a reasonable fashion, so it didn't look like they were being pushed out. The public relations strategy of the Adams campaign is of the Adams, well, it's the campaign all the time, but the Adams operation is lousy. Rather than putting him out there as the mayor who gets things done, like a Fiorello LaGuardia, they've relied on something called swag. It's not working. The problem is this won't work very well at all, and if he gets indicted, well, all bets are off.
Well, but look, politically, it's very bad to get indicted, obviously, duh. But it is just an indictment. You know, probable cause is a low standard. You can indict a ham sandwich. It doesn't mean that a guy's going away. Have you ever seen anything like this swirling around a top figure like Adams?
I've worked all over the country on civic elections and overseas as well. I've never seen anything quite like this. We've never had anything quite like this. It's the intensity of the federal prosecutorial bureaucracy and the investigatory bureaucracy together, sweeping down on this administration and its people. What will occur? No matter what occurs, frankly, whether he's arrested or not, hopefully he won't be. The city government and the police department will not be the same for quite some time.
David Kelley, what's your perspective? Have you ever seen anything like this? Am I forgetting something that we've lived through before?
Chris, you're not. I mean, look, this investigation looks as though it has more tentacles than an octopus. And it's hard to think of one like this. But at the same time, you know, you mentioned a couple like the Knapp Commission and Serpico and those things. Those were, you know, kind of systemic throughout the whole department.
Right.
I don't think that's what we're talking about here. I think what we're talking about here is kind of hubris-driven, relatively mid to small level stuff that is at the top levels of the mayoral administration. I also think, you know, you mentioned, you know, indicting a ham sandwich and so forth. If I was the U.S. attorney, this is probably the last case I'd want, unless I had to do it. And I'd have to do it if I had good predication to do it. So I think I'd give the U.S. attorney a little more room here. And, you know, I think the investigation has accelerated as of late. Let's see where it goes.
Okay, I agree. And, you know, you don't want to rush justice. But, don't you think, David, it's a little different when you're going after public figures like this who are actively in office? Because the guy is just under a complete cloud.
And for that reason, you're going to want to have a lot of predication. Like I said, this is not a case you're looking to be dropped in your lap. But it's sometimes facts will dictate that you really need to take some action here, and that's what they've done. I mean, they've executed lots of search warrants. They've seized phones. They've seized all sorts of communications. Obviously, it has the people the recipients of these court orders nervous today. The head of the schools had to step down, and it's not because, you know, he figured his time was up because he's done with his job. It's because he's concerned about the course of this investigation and what it's going to reveal. So, you know, I think you know that the U.S. attorney is onto something here. They now have some cooperators, as has been reported. And I think we're at an acceleration, an inflection point in the investigation here where we're going to see a lot of progress.
Does a public official, or should a public official, get a part of process where they say to him, you are a target of this investigation? Sometimes you guys send target letters to people, sometimes you don't. But someone in Adams' position, doesn't the position warrant disclosure on some level from prosecutors because of how many people are affected by the paralysis that this is having on government?
My guess is that there's been conversations between the prosecutors and the lawyers for Adams where they have a pretty good idea about where this is going and how deep the mud is in which he's standing right now. And then the question is for him whether or not he wants to kind of stay steeped in that mud and see if he can get out or if he's going to get into it any deeper.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.